To start, I went and got my gates. That's the number right there, K060900, because there are 6 ribs in here. The only tool you'll need is this socket. That's it. Because what you're going to do is you're going to put this socket wrench into this hole on your tensioner right here and just turn to the right. You turn to the right, this belt loosens up and you can pull it right off with one finger. But before you do that, take a picture of how your belt is, because if you can't remember, like smooth side goes against smooth pulleys, rib side goes against the rib side goes against the rib pulleys here. But if you can't remember that, at least you have a picture to go off of. Okay, as you look at my serpentine belt, you can see really small fractures in it. I mean, they're kind of small. You can see those little gaps in the belt itself. And the far edge is kind of like glazed over. So what that tells me is that's why my belt's kind of squeaking every time I start it. So I'm going to replace it today. Okay, so I loosened up my tensioner. Now I can just pull my belt straight off. I remember how my belt goes because I'm always working on Jeeps. And I always say the top belt usually goes straight across. Some cars, the belt has a dip because there's an additional pulley at the top. But with the Jeep, it just goes straight across. So I just yank this belt off. And it's all the way down up under that crankshaft down there. Pull it out. You're done with it. You can throw it on the ground. The next one goes in. I always like to make sure the numbers are facing me when I put it in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just wrap this thing around it, and I'll be right back to you in a second. And there you go. The belt's on. That literally took less than 5 minutes to swap out this belt. From getting the old one off to putting the new one on, less than 5 minutes. As you can see, my water pump's kind of leaking a little bit right there. I got a new one in the garage. I just haven't had time to do it. I mean, it leaks out probably that much a day. It's not a whole lot. I mean, it's not dripping up under the car yet. So once it starts dripping under the car, I think I'm going to swap it out. But for right now, I'm good. My temperature stays cool. Like, I guess the gasket on the side right there is where it's starting to leak. So I'm going to swapping that out. But there's the new belt. It's on there. Pretty quick. Easy. Now, I found the easiest way to put the belt back on is to loop it around everything first. Loop it around everything except the alternator. Don't loop it around the alternator until you're already all the way at the very end. Because what you're going to do is, with your socket wrench still locked in here, like I said, it only goes to the right. So when you turn it to the right, it loosens the belt up. So when you turn it to the right and you're pulling down with your right hand, just loop it right over here and you're done. You just release it and it locks it all back in place. And make sure all of the ribs are sitting right inside of your outer grooves. Make sure all the ribs are lined up on each belt, all the way down even to your crankshaft pulley. It'll adjust itself on the smooth pulley, so I don't really worry too much. Just don't make sure it's trapped too far on the inside on your smooth pulleys. But it'll line itself up with those. But you just got to make sure it's inside of the groove on like your power steering pump and everything else. But yeah, I mean, it's not too hard of a job. Like I said, it'll take you less than 5 minutes to get the old one off and the new one on. I swear, less than 5 minutes. If it takes you more than 5 minutes, it's probably because you forgot how the assignment goes. So other than that, it's just a whole bunch of just looping around. Make sure you take a picture of yours so you can kind of get a good understanding of how to put it back on. Because like I said, if you can't get it on easy, then you've probably got it on there wrong. But that's all it is right there. Like I said, it loops around the bottom of my tensioner pulley, up under the bottom of the water pump, up here to the idler pulley, straight down up under the air compressor, up around the air compressor, around the alternator, straight across the alternator to your power steering pump, and your power steering pump to your tensioner, down up under your crankshaft pulley. That's all it's doing, is just looping itself around like that. So it's not too hard to remember.